She was just trying to plant flowers right outside our porch. On the edge of the small patch we owned, my wife knelt down with a trowel and a tray of bright orange marigolds. She looked peaceful, hair tied back, sleeves rolled up, dirt on her cheek. It had been a rough year, and this little garden meant more to her than anyone could understand. And then they came, 3 of them. Clipboard, walkie-talkie, and all that smug HOA armor like they were on some power trip. The tall one, Mark, I think, didn't even say hello. He just stood in the grass and barked. This is non-compliant landscaping. My wife looked up. Confused? Excuse me? You're altering common space, another snapped. Per Section 1 for B of HOA code, all planting must be approved, and we didn't approve this. She stood up slowly, hands still dirty. This is our property line. We measured it. I checked with the county office. Mark didn't let her finish. He reached down, grabbed a marigold by the roots, and yanked it out like a weed. My wife gasped. Don't touch that. When it happened, one of the women on the team stepped forward. Red polo. Sunglasses attitude for days and shoved my wife back with her clipboard. You're escalating this, she snapped. You need to back off before we call security. But they didn't know. I was standing inside the house just 10 feet away, watching everything. I hadn't said a word yet. But when I saw her stumble, her arm scraping the porch rail, something old in me stirred. Not anger, something colder. I opened the screen door. Mark turned. Sir, we're in the middle of I said. Calm. Quiet. Sarah crossed her arms. Then maybe explain to your wife how HOA authority works. I stepped down, slowly, and said, You just laid hands on a civilian on private property. I hope you're ready to explain that. To law enforcement. Mark laughed once. You think we're scared of a citation? I took another step. You should be scared of federal assault charges. Now they looked nervous. I didn't blink. Because you didn't just shove someone's wife. You assaulted a decorated medic on the porch of a retired Navy SEAL. Silence. You could hear a bird chirping in the distance. Sarah's clipboard lowered a bit. Mark took half a step back. My wife, still holding her scraped elbow, said nothing. She didn't need to, because I was already dialing the sheriff, and I wasn't bluffing. The sheriff picked up on the second ring. Yeah, I need units at 1485 Oak Ridge Lane, I said, my eyes locked on Mark. 3 individuals just committed assault on private property. One's already uprooted landscaping, and another put hands on my wife, Sarah scoffed. You're seriously calling the police over flowers? No, I said. I'm calling them over felony assault and trespassing. Mark stepped in. We have the authority of the HOA. HOA isn't law. I cut him off. You don't get to shove civilians. You don't get to tear up property. You sure? As hell don't get to act like this is some private army patrol. My voice was low, but it didn't need to be loud. People like them don't respect shouting. They respect certainty. And I wasn't guessing. I knew exactly what I was doing. Sarah's confidence started to crack. We have body cams on, she said quickly.
Yes.
So I suggest you watch your tone. I smiled just a little. Perfect. Then we'll have recorded evidence. A disabled veteran spouse that landed. She looked at the others, trying to decide whether to double down or run. They chose wrong, because right at that moment, a black county sheriff SUV turned the corner, tires crunching gravel as it rolled. Up slowly. The enforcers froze. The deputy stepped out, thumb hooked in his belt. He recognized me. Commander Hale, he said. Mark blinked. Commander, I didn't answer. I just nodded once at the deputy. He walked over to Sarah. You want to explain? Why dispatch got a call about a physical altercation on federal land? Sarah's voice wavered. This is HOA Managed Residential. The deputy raised a hand. Let me stop you there. This property sits on a land parcel that was grandfathered. Under a federal deed transfer, you're not just out of bounds. You're off the map. Mark looked like he'd swallowed a rock. We didn't know. The deputy turned back to me. You want to press charges? I looked at my wife. She was silent for a second, then nodded. Not in anger, not in revenge. Just done being pushed around. Yeah, I said. We do. Sarah's hands started shaking. The deputy opened his notebook. And just like that, her little empire started to crumble. Sarah tried to talk her way out. It was a misunderstanding, she said quickly. We didn't know the property lines were federal. We thought you could rough people up and hide behind a clipboard. I cut in. The deputy didn't say a word. He was already writing. Names, statements, location. He wasn't rushing, either taking his time like he wanted every detail airtight. Mark tried a different angle. We're not criminals. We're just trying to enforce neighborhood standards. The deputy finally looked up. You touched a civilian on camera. On property you don't even have legal jurisdiction over. You think the court's gonna care? About standards? No one spoke. My wife leaned against the railing. Her hand was still on her elbow, but she looked steadier now, like, finally. Something was shifting in our favor. Then another car rolled up. Not a cruiser this time. A black truck with government plates. Sarah whispered, "Oh no." The deputy raised an eyebrow. Did you call backup? I shook my head. Did you? Nope. The truck parked. Doors opened. 2 plainclothes investigators stepped out, one holding a folder, the other a camera. They moved like they'd been. Briefed. Quiet. Professional. Dead serious. Mark backed up a step. Who are they? I looked him dead in the eye. Office of Federal Property Oversight? You stepped on the wrong lawn. Sarah's face went pale. The taller investigator walked over to the deputy and spoke low. I only caught parts of it, land trust. Protected boundary. Salt report flagged. Then he turned to me. You're Mr. Hale? Yes. He nodded. Pulled your old service file and the original deed transfer. We'll need statements. And if you're willing to submit the footage from your security cam, this could turn criminal. My wife looked at me. We have it. She didn't mean just the camera. She meant everything. The footage. The old property lines. The deed. Even that ridiculous email chain where Sarah accused her of unauthorized planting. I nodded. You'll get all of it. Mark suddenly wasn't so loud anymore. Sarah looked like she wanted to disappear, and I didn't have to raise my voice. Or my fists. Or do anything flashy. I just stood there, calm and steady. Like I was trained to. Like I'd done before in places far worse than this. Only this time, I wasn't protecting a flag or a base. This time, I was protecting my home. The investigator opened the folder. Inside was a satellite map of our street, outlined in thick red lines. But what caught everyone's attention was the blue overlay running right through our lot and extending past the backyard. That's federal trust land, the agent said, tapping the map. Transferred to a decorated veterans family 15 years ago under the Heroes Acre program. Which means this HOA has no authority here. I finished. Sarah looked like she was trying to shrink into her own shadow. No one told us that. We didn't see any markers. There were markers, my wife said, her voice calm but sharp. You removed one 2 weeks ago. I saw it in your golf cart basket when you parked near the clubhouse. The deputy turned slowly toward her. You removed boundary markers? Mark blurted out. We thought they were old. The agent didn't even blink. They were RFID tagged and tied to the federal database. Tampering with them carries a 5-year penalty under Section 2 to be of Property Enforcement Code. Sarah suddenly looked like she couldn't breathe, and then came the final crack. From the end of the street, a phone began ringing loudly. Not just a ringtone, one of those old-school emergency tones you can't ignore. Sarah's phone. She fumbled to pull it out, trying to silence it, but it was too late. Everyone saw the caller ID. HOA President, come and call, she answered on speaker. Hands trembling. Sarah, came a man's voice. What did you do? I didn't know the land. They're here, feds. Police, I've got 5. Calls in the last 15 minutes from county legal. There's a cease and desist order coming down for the whole HOA board. What? You're done. All of you. This is going to hit the papers by morning. Click. Silence again. The agent flipped the folder closed and turned to the deputy. We'll take statements and collect footage. Expect a formal report in 72 hours. Till then, no one from the HOA is allowed within 50 feet of this property." The deputy nodded. "Understood." Sarah looked broken. Mark looked lost. I walked over to my wife. She was quiet, eyes red but not crying. I took her hand. "Hey," I said gently, "they're done." She nodded slowly, then whispered, "I just wanted to grow something." "You did," I told her. "You grew a fight they couldn't win." And as the agents walked back to their truck and the HOA enforcers were left standing awkward and silent, I realized something. They came at us with rules and threats and paperwork. We answered with truth. And that was all it took.